Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell from the title, I will be doing a ranking of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. This franchise is one of probably the only other franchise that I watched all of the movies. Um, the only other one is Scream. It's the Scream franchise. But I have watched all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. The good ones and unfortunately the bad ones too. The bad ones or the ones I didn't care for, or the ones I thought was really horrible. I only watched it once, and I was like, never watching this again. But yeah, as I showed on the video I did of my horror movie collection, I have two cases of parts 1 to 8. The eighth one is technically being Freddy vs. Jason, and then I also have the remake, but it's not part of my collection. Well, it's not in my room. It is in the house, but it's not my room. So I don't count it as my collection. But yeah, I'm just gonna go from how I usually do it, like from worst to best. So the worst one is the remake. The remake. What can I say about the remake? It should have never existed. The remake should have never existed. They should have left Freddy alone after Freddy vs. Jason. They should have left Freddy alone then. They should have never made the remake. First of all, Freddy was just I mean, granted, it was a remake, so they had someone else play Freddy, and he tried. I'll give him that he tried, but those are some big shoes to fill. And to be honest, we all know that he's not going to live up to the expectations as how Robert Englund played as Freddy. And I just didn't like the whole thing of Freddy being a pedophile. Like, him being a child murderer was one thing, but I did not like that whole addition of him being a pedophile too. I didn't like that. And also, just like, I didn't like the atmosphere. I just didn't like their version of the setting of Elm Street. Didn't care for any of the characters. Did not care for the the remake version of Nancy. It was given dull. It was given gloomy. I was bored, and I just you see look at my face. So yeah, that's definitely the worst one. The second worst, the eighth, or like, it's worst / least favorite. So that's my least favorite. And that's number 9 for me. Number 8, which is above, is Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare. It's not what helps is that it's still the original Freddy. Robert Englund is still playing it. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that even has it even above the remake. Other than that, the movie was bad. Did not care for it. I did not care for the final girl or the final characters in general. Did not care for it. Did not care for the final act. Did not care for the final battle. I didn't care about the whole thing of her being Freddy's daughter. Did not care about the whole thing of Freddy's backstory. Did not care for any of that. I just thought the movie was terrible. I did not like the characters. I thought the acting was bad. Just no. Let's go to my number 7. My 7th favorite. I'm gonna be honest. Like, the bottom 3 is ones I would never watch again. The other one is the one above Final Nightmare. The one above it is Part 5, the Dream Child. Now, this is kind of like the sequel of Part 4, and that's basically the sequel of Part 4. It continues the story of Alice. The movie itself, I just didn't care. And to be honest, it's like, I cared more about Alice in the 4th movie than I did for the 5th movie. Granted, if like she was pregnant, so I guess, but it was just the whole thing of comedy Freddy is that after part 3 they just took it too far. That's all. They just took it too far. Um, yeah, and just like comedy Freddy, it's like I know that's what people are used to seeing as comedy Freddy, but I'm just like I prefer scary Freddy over comedy Freddy. Or like if you're gonna have comedy Freddy, at least have a good balance, because I feel like the comedy Freddy, especially in like part 5 and 6, it was just not given, and didn't care for the characters, and the movie itself wasn't really that memorable. There was like two like memorable kills, or like two memorable scenes, and that was it. One of them was the motorcycle thing, that motorcycle scene, um, that killed Alice's lover, and the other one was how that one girl died, that rich girl. Yeah, that rich girl. When Freddy was just feeding her just nasty stuff until she choked, and her cheeks was all, yeah, it was nasty, but it was at least memorable for me. But yeah, other than that, didn't care for the final act. Wasn't memorable about that. The whole thing of it involving his mom, um, didn't care for it. So yeah. Now the other two I will mention is, well, actually the next one is not one I don't care about, but at least but it is better. So the one above part 5 is part 4. Part 4 is basically, in my opinion, just a cash grab. It's basically to help take advantage of how popular Freddy got after part 3. If I'm gonna be honest, especially with the whole comedy version of Freddy. Now the comedy version of Freddy wasn't that bad yet. In part 4, he definitely got more comedy and became more comedy in part 4, but not as bad as 5 and 6 in my opinion. I feel like Alice was, even though she's no Nancy, she was a pretty decent replacement for Nancy and spoilers, when Nancy died in part 3. Spoilers, but yeah, overall, I would say the movie is I would definitely say it's better than not my top 3. It's definitely better than my bottom 3, if I'm gonna be honest. So I'll definitely say that, but again, it's another sequel that's not really all that memorable, except for that whole I guess like roach kill or whatever. So like, yeah, that roach kill, and I did like that they brought back I guess like the three kid the three survivors from part 3, regarding like the kid, well the teenagers, except for and they had the original actors except for the person who played Kristen. I don't know why they didn't have the original actress who played Kristen. But at least they still had all three of them, and all three of them died, which I kind of figured. But I kind of wished that they would have died like later in the film, like later in the film, like trying to help Alice, I guess. Like they were trying to help Alice, but Freddy was too strong for them, and then he ended up killing all of them. I guess it's kind of how Kristen died. Like she tried to fight against Freddy to help Alice, but then she ended up getting thrown into the fire. The other two, they just got snatched up by Freddy and got killed. But yeah, part 4 is better than part 5, definitely. And now, above it is Freddy vs. Jason. Now, I don't remember how I ranked Freddy vs. Jason in my Friday the 13th ranking. I might have put it like in the middle. either in the middle or like maybe like on top, like probably somewhere in the middle, probably. But I don't remember. But yeah. Um, I mean, Freddy vs. Jason. I mean, it's a cool movie. I mean, I don't really have much to say about Freddy vs. Jason. It was a cool movie, and to be honest, again, like I said earlier in the video, I feel like that's where they should have left Freddy. They shouldn't have made the remake. Um, the whole battle between Freddy versus Jason was bloody, and I definitely enjoyed the battle. Like it was, like them two was definitely a challenge for each other. And the characters, I can't say I really cared about the characters. The only one that stood out to me was that's when I saw Caleb Owen. I was like, what is she doing? I was like, what is she doing? I was like, what is she doing in this film? I did not understand why she was in the film. And but yeah. It did have some good kills. It did have some good kills. It had one of the most satisfying kills I've ever had when that douche of a boyfriend got stabbed multiple times on the bed, and then Jason grabbed both ends of the bed and just folded homie. That was so satisfying. That was so satisfying for me because I could not stand him. I could not stand him. I could not stand him. I could not stand his character. So satisfying for me. No, it's literally like I have not been satisfied of a kill since Carrie, since the original Carrie, if I'm gonna be honest. And then there was something else I was thinking of, but I might forget. But yeah, it was just some things that didn't make sense. It's just me nitpicking. But it was just some things that didn't make sense to me, like Jason being afraid of water because he drowned. It's like whoever decided to write that, I'm like, clearly you did not watch the previous films, because it's like, yes, he drowned, but it's like in the previous Friday the 13th movies, he was in water before, and he has killed people in water. He was in water on part 4. That's how he killed the girl that was on that raft. He literally walked into the water when it was going towards Tommy, and toward, like, in the final act of part 6. And in part 7, he literally dragged a chick down the water and drowned her. And Jason was, and in part 8, he was swimming a whole lot in the water. So it's like, it makes no sense of him being afraid of water. Freddy, I guess it would make sense of him being afraid of fire, I guess, but Boss, to be honest, it doesn't really, because part 2, on the scene of when he was like, "You're all my children now," there was fire behind him. If he was scared, then he would have been like, "Oh, fire," as if he, and really, him being afraid of, and that too, him being afraid of fire. What is he, Frankenstein? Like, for real, like, is he Frankenstein or something? And also, why? Not even why. How did they go from Elm Street to Camp Crystal Lake that quickly? Like, I know it's a movie, but it's just like, huh? But anyway, but yeah, there's nothing else for me to say. It's like, it was just a cool movie. It was a cool movie for the time it came out. So now I'm at what, my top. All I have left is, hold on, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, my top 4. So my 4th favorite is part 2. Part 2 is probably the most, well, not the most, but probably one of the most serious Freddy's. And he wasn't that much of comedy. Like, he wasn't doing that many jokes. Or he wasn't really that, I guess, goofy or whatever. He was more serious. He was more scary in the second film. And also, I actually cared for at least a few of the characters. And also, I just loved how gay it was. The gay undertones. Uh, shouldn't even call undertones because I don't even think it's even undertones. Like it's clear that that it gave gayness. It gave gay, but I love it though. As someone who's gay himself, I loved on how gay part two was. If I'm gonna be honest, but yeah, I thought the movie wasn't bad. I thought the movie wasn't bad. I liked the Freddy. I actually cared for a few of the characters. The final act, the final act was fine. I didn't hate the final act. Um, and I also didn't mind the whole thing of Jason. I guess kind of taking over Jesse's body or something like that. Um, the characters, like the main characters, body, and there was something else. The only thing that disappointed me about the film was that it was the subtitle is Freddy's Revenge, so I automatically thought that it was gonna involve Nancy again. Like I thought that I fully expected to see Nancy in it again, but when I saw that it was, and then once I saw the house, I was well, it didn't show the house, but um, in the beginning, like with the opening credits and how it started, but but once I saw that like it was new characters, and I didn't see Nancy at all, I was pretty disappointed because it was just kind of like, well, if you're gonna say Freddy's Revenge, why not just have Nancy be back, or even maybe at least Nancy's dad, but or just have a different subtitle instead of saying Freddy's Revenge, but it's just me. But yeah, I didn't hate the film. Like I thought the film was fine. Like I thought it was decent. Now my top three is ones I watch over and over and over again. Especially my top favorite. My top favorite I've watched the most. My third favorite is New Nightmare. New Nightmare, Wes Craven did it 2 years before he did Scream, and I love New Nightmare. It kind of added something fresh and new to the franchise, with it being meta, and it also taking place in the real world, as the actress who was Nancy in 1 and 3, Heather Langenkamp played as herself in the movie. Um, and then she's dealing with, I guess, she's dealing with an entity in the form of Freddy, and then you see a lot of callbacks from the original film, and I enjoyed it. The kills were brutal, and and it was another um, Nightmare movie that had a more serious, dark, and scary Freddy. Um, well, not dark, but he was more serious and more scary. Um, but yeah, I thought the film was really good, and I enjoyed it. The final act, I'll give the final act of it being interesting. I'll give it to that. Like it was interesting. But but yeah, I enjoyed it, and let's move on. My second favorite is part three, Dream Warriors. This was the start of bringing more comedy in for Freddy, but it was well balanced. He still had, it was well balanced between him being scary and him being funny. It was a good balance, and overall the movie was good. We saw the return of Nancy, and we also got introduced to a lot of likable characters. Um, so yeah, and I liked the kills. I liked the one-liners that Freddy had. The one that always stands out to me is the "Welcome to Prime Time, bitch." That always stands out to me. I always thought that was funny. Um, and yeah, there's nothing really like. Oh yeah, we also see the return of Nancy's dad. And we, both of them died, but again, spoiler alert, both of them died. Both Nancy and her dad died in the end, but they die. I guess in the more, especially Nancy, she dies in a more honorable way, I'll say, because after she gets stabbed, still has enough energy and still enough life in her to stab Freddy with his own glove. Um, but before she ends up dead. But yeah, again, I enjoyed the film. I thought it was really good. So without further ado, let's get to my number one, which you can probably already tell from me from elimination, process of elimination. My top favorite is the first one. It is the original because it's what because it's where it all started. Like in my opinion, it's rare whenever like in a franchise, uh, a sequel is better than the original. The only other franchise I watched that there's only one franchise I watch that I feel like the sequel is better than the original, and that's within the Friday the 13th franchise. But in this one, and in this franchise, in my opinion, the best one is the first one. I know for a lot of people, the favorite is part three, and I can understand why. But the original is just my favorite. We get the introduction of Nancy, also the introduction of Freddy. Freddy was scary. The special effects was crazy. The kills were crazy, and to be honest, the characters were likable. Well, for the most part. um, there was a couple side characters I was like, but yeah, and we also saw the debut of Johnny Depp too. Mama, there's also that. um, but yeah, we get introduced to Nancy, who is an amazing final girl, and she basically fights back. And the whole final act of her fighting back against Freddy is amazing. That whole sequence, and then the ending. I don't mind the ending, but I can see why people is like about it, because I guess it can be confusing because it doesn't really make any sense. And I think I even heard that even Wes Craven himself didn't like that. Didn't like the whole ending that was in the film of the whole car moving myself into Freddy snatching Nancy's mom. So yeah, it's like that ending I didn't mind. Like it didn't take away from the film for me. But yeah, I think the original is the best one, and that's it. So yeah, that is my ranking. Now, comment down below your ranking of the films. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? And tell me why. But don't be disrespectful. Just remember it's my opinions. So as long as you respect my opinions, I will respect yours. Okay? Okay. So yeah, just comment down below your rankings and just or just comment down like what were your favorite Nightmare on Elm Street films within the franchise. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.